I'm Edgar V. Howell III, and I'm a member of the class of 1983, and I'm a major in the United States Marine Corps, and I served in Operation Iraqi Freedom as a logistics officer with the 1st MEF.
I'm Kenneth Bath. I'm with the class of 2000. I served as a 2nd lieutenant with 82nd Airborne in Afghanistan at a fire base called Skin Fire Base, 7 clicks east of the Pakistan border. My primary job there was to make sure the logistics was set up for basically beans and bullets when I first got there, to make sure everybody ate and had whatever they had to shoot. And then after that, went on combat missions, but my primary focus was logistics.
I'm Rick Simmons, member of the class of 1988, and I'm a major in the U.S. Army Reserve, Thurman's Brigade 360 Civil Affairs Brigade Airborne out of Fort Jackson, South Carolina. I served in Bagram, Afghanistan as the CJ-9 Civil Military Operations, current operations officer in Bagram Air Base, Afghanistan from November of 2002 until May of 2003. We worked civil military operations, which is the reconstruction, humanitarian aid, rebuilding schools, hospitals, clinics.
My name is Lieutenant William Francis Jr. People know me better as Woody, and I'm in the U.S. Navy. I'm a platoon commander at SEAL Team 5. I'm the OIC of Charlie Platoon. I just returned about a month ago from deployment over in Iraq for Iraqi freedom. I graduated from the Citadel in 1998. My task unit consisted of 3 SEAL platoons and 3 sections of the Polish Grom. There were actually 6 sections of the Polish Grom that fell under our command, the Polish Special Forces, and they were that was an awesome experience, getting the opportunity to work with as closely and as cohesively as we did with a foreign Special Forces unit.
I'm Frank Bonaventura, a graduate from '99 Delta, captain of the United States Air Force. My job is an air battle manager. I sit on board the AWACS, and I'm one of a crew of air battle specialists. And what we do is we literally watch the entire air war and direct what goes on.
I'm Drew Fanning. I'm a member of the class of 2001 and a 1st Lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps. I served as a weapons platoon commander and fire support team leader during Operation Iraqi Freedom. What I did was coordinate the supporting arms in support of our company's scheme of maneuver in order to inflict maximum damage, concentrate our firepower against our enemy. I incorporate artillery, mortars, and air.
My name is John Prindle. I'm a member of the class of 1992 Echo Company, major in the United States Air Force. I served as in both OEF and OIF as a Joint Stars Senior Director. I was flying several missions over Afghanistan, flew a couple over Iraq, and spent the majority of my time in Kuwait as the advisor to the Combined Forces Land Component Command as a Joint Stars Liaison Officer.
My name's Captain Nathan Gray. I'm with the U.S. Army. I'm a class of 1995. I initially was with the 5th Corps in Kuwait, and shortly after the 101st had that grenade incident where several members were wounded and killed by their own member. I was attached to the 1st Brigade 101st, where I served as an operations officer in the Tactical Operations Center. From there, within 24 hours after arriving with the 101st, I moved north with them through An-Najaf, Al-Hila, and Karbala, and then followed 3rd Infantry Division up through Baghdad, and where we finally settled down in Mosul, where I ended up staying the duration of the war.
It was extremely hot and dry, and then when the wind blew, there was dirt in the air. It was a really hostile environment.
When I went out to the fire base, to Skin Fire Base, I got there at night. The helicopter landed and I got out and it was a full moon, and the fire base was essentially a 100-foot by 100-foot walled-in area. The walls are about 30 feet high, and the first thing I thought was, I'm at the Alamo. I just hoped that it didn't turn out the same way the Alamo did, but it was in the middle of nowhere. We were in the Burmel Valley, and like I said, I could see the Pakistan border from where we were, and it was literally in the middle of nowhere. Everything we got supply-wise had to come from helicopters.
We're kind of the go-to guys when there's things involving water, and obviously, you know, Iraq is landlocked, and we didn't even bring any amphibious equipment up into that theater whatsoever. We left it all down in Kuwait. So obviously, I never touched water, aside from being next to the Tigris or the Euphrates River. That's the only water that I saw.
There were a lot of those in the Air Force who were complaining about our living conditions. We were in tents, and they were dark-colored tents, and it was hot, and they couldn't sleep, and oh, we only got so much sleep. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. You know, when you go to the Citadel, you learn to deal with, learn to put some of those kind of things aside, and hit the rack when you can, and you know, eat when you can, and go out and do your job, and leave it at that, and save the complaining for later.
The cramped quarters, the chow halls, living, you know, a rigorous, close-quartered kind of life with the Army, that was the thing that reminded me the most about the Citadel. Of course, just the discipline and the drive to try to succeed and serve is something I learned here at school and have applied throughout my career, both flying in the Air Force and serving on the ground with the Army.
Every day that I woke up feeling miserable, I knew it was worse as a knob here. That helped me get through.
I would say that the stress, the physical stress that you're under in a massive combat operation like that brought me back to maybe some of the days when I was an early freshman here, when I was under a lot of pressure, had to deliver in a real short period of time, and it felt like I could not get everything done I needed to get done. But you know, you just kind of reach down, and you realize gradually that you're going to make it. You know, it's an amazing thing that you know, so many people are relying on you, and they really are engaged in combat. That you know, you're going to come through.
Actually, the first fire base I was at, I was with one of my classmates, Justin Brown. He's a military intelligence officer, and I stayed with him for about 2 weeks. So it was real good to have a familiar face over there, and we palled around for about 2 weeks. And then I would talk to him by satellite phone about once a month. So it was good to have family there, so to speak.
So far, I've been deployed twice since I've been in the Navy, and on both deployments, I run into multiple alumni from the Citadel in all 4 branches. It's really a unique thing, you know. Guys that went to the Naval Academy, they see guys on the ship. They see guys, you know, in the Navy. Guys that went to that went to West Point, they run into Army guys. I run into guys from all 4 branches, and it's really kind of neat. Even though you're deployed over in, you know, a place like Iraq, you can still pull that guy aside or step to the side and, you know, just talk about, you know, remember when we were, you know, having a good time back at school, you know, out downtown.
The last time my immediate boss, my supervisor, flight commander, talked to me and said, you know, I want to have a discussion with you and how your career is going and what's going on. We got into a discussion about Citadel grads, and there are 5 or 6 actually in my squadron, and he's pretty familiar with all of them. And he says, you know, the thing that makes you different is every one of you are absolutely different people, and you have your own personalities, you have your own likes and everything, but everyone is fanatically just mission-minded. Absolutely, when it comes to doing your job, when it comes to your duty, you're all exactly the same.
We were at the Northern Bridge. My unit was in Northern Bridge, Al-Nasiriyah, and 1st Marine Division had just started to pass through our lines in their march north to Baghdad. And another Marine came up to me and said, "Hey, Fanning, you know, you were at the Citadel, right?" I said, "Yeah, I was." It's like, "You knew Childers, right?" I said, "Yes, I did." And I said, "Well, you know, he was killed," and it was humbling to hear that. Knowing him the way he was, with his dedicated, with his zeal and enthusiasm for everything he did, it caused me to pause
Pete was a really easygoing guy. He was a great guy, and he was one of those guys that was brave without even giving it a second thought. I'm not even sure he was conscious of the kinds of the kind of courage that he had, just kind of in his nature. Pete's main job was flying a helicopter from the island out to the carriers and delivering things to the boats that they needed that could not be sent any other means. It was a pretty time-critical kind of thing.
He and I wrestled together freshman year. I later moved into his company for a little while. I was in Charlie Company. And we were in the same weight class my freshman year. We were drill partners. He actually dropped down a couple weight classes after a little while, but we eventually became best friends, quickly became best friends because we had so much in common. I owe more to him. I owe about as much to Pete for who I am today and for why I wear that, even though he wasn't a SEAL. I owe about as much to him as I do my father. I miss him. I'm going to miss him forever. Until hopefully I meet him again.
You walk through any of these barracks and you see, duty is the sublimest word in English language, quoted by General Lee, and it's true. There's a lot of things that fall under duty, obligation, and whether that be in the military, to a family, children, to business coworkers. You need to be prepared to go the extra distance to serve, and that the world isn't there for you. You're there for everybody else.
We're doing what our fathers taught us to do, and we're doing our duty. It's not necessarily a fun duty, but it's something that's very important. We've freed 2 countries that were under barbarism. I've talked to Afghans personally, and I know what kind of life they had, and I know what kind they have now, and they don't want us to leave. Contrary to what you hear in the news, they're very glad we're there. I think the duty that we're doing in Iraq and Afghanistan is just as noble as our grandfathers who freed Dachau and Buchenwald. It's not about weapons of mass destruction. It's about freeing people to where they can live a good life without fear of torture or murder.